And okay, everything is looking pretty solid here at my end. All right, we got some gameplay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to tonight's show. This is yet another episode of the Xbox Roundtable Podcast, show number 224 to be exact. I'm Invader, and it's great to have you all listening in. Lots of stuff to go over with the crew tonight. The big news, of course, being that Xbox has announced its big games showcase. We'll give you our thoughts on what could be shown and, a few other things. Also, an update regarding the Microsoft purchase of Activision-Blizzard. Are we getting further to find out the verdict of it? What's going to happen? And hey, you know what? Some WB game news. Are we going to see a fire sale of studios and IP soon? Time will tell. But first, let me take a minute to introduce all of my friends on the panel, starting with Centurion. Buddy, how you been?
I'm doing pretty good, man. It is Sunday night. It is time to talk Xbox and the gaming industry. It has been an awesome week for me when it comes to gaming. This whole Halloween or October thing they got going on with the store sale. I picked up Strange Brigade and Army or our Dead Army trilogy. And me and my friend and his son have been playing those games heavily. We've been having a blast. I mean, actually, I was very unsure if I was going to enjoy Strange Brigade, but I have been enjoying Strange Brigade.
You know what's funny is I picked it up too because for $7-8, with some tax on the Ultimate Edition or Deluxe Edition, whatever it's called, the super big edition. I'm deciding, you know what, that game kind of looks up my alley, a decent co-op shooter, whatnot, kind of similar to Vermintide, Left 4 Dead, and so on, Back 4 Blood. It looks like fun, and I kind of like the style it's going for, and I've heard some pretty decent things. I'm like, hey, I'll give it a shot, and I haven't played it yet, but I'm happy to hear that you picked it up, and we'll have to play sometime.
Yeah, you're more than welcome to join us. I mean, you could see where they took the fun aspects of Evil Dead. I keep wanting to say Evil Dead, but Dead Army, and they built upon it in Strange Brigade, and now you have puzzles, and there is definitely a lot more to Strange Brigade than there is Dead Army. But both of them are absolutely fun games. I've never played Dead Army before, and I've watched a lot of people stream it over the years, and for once, I wanted to actually play it myself.
Indeed. Well, we got to talk after the show about that. Moving on down the list here, General MLD. Buddy, lots of news going on here, lots of gaming. How's things been at your end?
Oh, yeah, it's been a pretty good week. Lots to talk about. Personally, I'm just on Mass Effect 3 from the Legendary Edition. Happy to say I beat Mass Effect 2 with all the squad mates intact. Redeemed my childhood self. Back in the day, 2 people died. So, nice redemption there. Again, I highly recommend the game to everyone in the chat or whatever who haven't played the game yet. It's really, really, really well done.
And I can imagine a few people on the panel being very, very happy with you. Let's see.
What a guest.
Yeah, right. All right, down the list here, Eric Shockley. Buddy, it's great to see you back here yet again for another week of TXR. How you been?
Yeah, been pretty good. Finally added the last piece to my retro console collection with the Sega Genesis one. I started with the NES just because my parents had one, I guess, when I was like a baby. But Sega Genesis was that first one, I think, when I was like 6 or 7 when I asked for Christmas. So finally reunited there. But yeah, just been playing some Sonic 3 and Knuckles on the original Genesis. But that's about it. Just getting ready for that Sonic Origins, and that hopefully we get a date on the Shredder's Revenge too, for those 2 releases. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, gonna have to keep an eye on that. Yeah, Sonic Origins looks pretty cool. And Crusader rounding out the list here. How you been?
I've been pretty good. Had a very chaotic week in the leak area of things. All kinds of wild things. With that, specifically leaking the date of the Xbox showcase a day early. That was wild. Gameplay wise, been playing cleaning up some stuff in Destiny 2's season of what's this season called? I don't remember the currently active season. I've been cleaning some stuff up that before the next season starts in like 4 weeks. And I had a friend up this weekend from college. He and I both love the Ratchet and Clank series, and he does not have a PS5 yet. So we played through the entirety, start to finish, in 2 days of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart.
Ooh.
That was great. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I played that game about 2 months ago-ish, and yeah, I had a pretty good time with it. I'm still wondering where I place that in my Ratchet and Clank games list overall, but overall, I enjoyed it, yeah. Definitely.
It's my number 2 Ratchet and Clank game. Tools of Destruction is still ahead of it. Sony, please put it on PS Now. Please, I beg you. And third favorite SIE exclusive overall.
I don't know. Up Your Arsenal always holds a special place in my heart, just for the name alone.
Very good game.
Just for the name alone.
Very good game.
Very tongue-in-cheek Insomniac. That's what I love about him. But yeah, guys, Tim may or may not be joining us. Just so you know, he's at a New York Mets game. So definitely leave your comments in the chat about the Mets and so on. You know, give it to Tim. No, I'm just teasing, obviously. But before we get into things here, please consider sharing this out, as I'd love to see more people dropping by, popping in. I mean, the more the merrier, right? I love seeing you all kind of congregate in the chat and just, you know, share some gaming opinions and whatnot. You know, more fun that way. But you know what? Okay, gentlemen, let's move right into the thick of things, shall we? And earlier this week, Xbox came out and announced their Big Games Showcase. It's happening June 12th and will be a combined show with Bethesda. And of course, the big question is, well, what are they going to show? You know, this is a single show. It's, damn, I mean, you know, how much can they fit in here? There's a few obvious games they'll be showing and, you know, maybe ones that we may be more curious about. Eric Shockley, pal, you know, why don't we kick things off with you here? Now that we have a date, what do you think we'll be seeing from Xbox and Bethesda? You know, let's put our speculation caps on here, because there's some obvious things, and then there's some things that, you know, we've been hearing about, but may or may not come to fruition.
Yeah, definitely excited they finally put a date on it. I remember, was it like 2020? We had that one, like, it was like mid or late July. That was hard to wait that long. But yeah, nice that we have a date, that I'm off, so we can watch it live. But yeah, I'm thinking definitely with that we're going to probably see our first glimpse, obviously, of the 2 big Bethesda releases that are supposed to drop this year with Starfield and Redfall, the obvious ones. So hopefully that's not an announcement of like, hey, here's the show of, you know, Redfall and we delayed it till next year. Hopefully we don't get any news like that. Hopefully it's like all ready to go. But yeah, I'm thinking probably, I guess this one wouldn't be a Bethesda, but Xbox Studios with like Avowed. I'm thinking that could drop. It would make sense to definitely get that out early enough, spaced out between whenever like Elder Scrolls 6 is supposed to drop, you know, probably in mid-decade or later. So you definitely want to give at least some breathing room there. But plus Avowed, I think they showed us that first like glimpse. I think that was in 2020. I think they had already been in development that they had showed like Phil when they, like, that was the game they saw when they purchased Obsidian. It was like one that they showed off of like, okay, cool, we're working on this game. And that, I think, you know, probably sealed the deal, you know, especially with their previous talent, but like with the upcoming game.
Right.
But yeah, that'd probably definitely be the one I'm really hoping to see. I would think you would see more of Hellblade, just because we already saw from what the dev said, you know, actual gameplay. So hopefully at least we get maybe a window of like, hey, you know, 2023 or so, or at least a year, kind of like where we can start kind of like slotting these games of where they're going to go. But yeah, hopefully we get update on those two, Avowed and Hellblade. Definitely looking forward to those. It'd be cool if they could touch base on like Perfect Dark, just because of like recent news, but I don't see that coming. Obvious one though would probably be Forza, since we've been seeing some like leak screens or leak testing from like Xbox One apparently. But if I'm gonna, I think the one I'm really looking forward to see something from is Compulsion, just because like when they showed, like, I never went to go back and play it, but at least the aesthetic, it's definitely in my backlog. But at least the aesthetic when they first showed off, like the Happy Few, that kind of grabbed a lot of people. A lot of people that first saw that were like, "Oh shit, what is this?" It just had that BioShock like feel to it. And since we're probably never going to get BioShock back again, I would definitely want to see whatever their next project is. Because they definitely look like they had at least they needed some probably better execution and they definitely had to work through that with the preview access or the early access that they did with We Happy Few. So hopefully now being under Xbox and probably having more cohesiveness of being like in a family of other studios where they can easily kind of share ideas or get more assistance and take their vision creatively, because that part like nailed it. Like the aesthetic of We Happy Few just looked definitely piqued a lot of people's interest. So that's definitely one I'm looking out for. Hopefully we'll hear something from them. But if I had to like pick one, that's definitely one I wouldn't say predicting, but that's the one I'm pulling for. See what they're up to.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you on that one. I've been talking about Compulsion for a couple of years now. I've always considered them one of the dark horse purchases of Microsoft's shopping spree of studios. I'll admit, I liked We Happy Few, even though it was definitely a little different as to what it was built, but I thought that the world that they made was very intriguing, one of the more interesting ones in recent years, very unique and dark yet very colorful at the same time. I think they got talent for narrative games and just very curious overall what they're doing. And I think about it, We Happy Few released what in 2018, I believe. I think.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Released that same year they purchased. Yeah.
It's something. Yeah, exactly. So I know it was game preview for a little while, but I mean, what? It's been 4 years now. I mean, we should see something from them, I would think. So, and
yeah, at least I would think they would have at least something of like, hey, here's like early like teaser of like what we're kind of like when they first showed off like We Happy Few, and that, which was like, I don't know if I think that was maybe in 20, can't remember if I think it was probably 2017 when they showed it off, that first like glimpse, because then they had it in early access for a bit.
maybe even 16, to be honest. It could have even
yeah,
been
maybe
16. It was very early.
So hopefully they could at least show like something like that, where it was like a early build of like, okay, here's this like the world that we're envisioning. So at least we're thinking like, okay, they might not have a date yet, but at least they'll have something to show off, hopefully.
Yeah, totally. Oh, we got some cool people in the chat here. Mike from NLG, what's up, brother? Mav from Fun Speculation, buddy, great stuff. Jay the Graphic God, great to see you, man. The Monkey Man in the house, as always. Buddy from the Retro Renegades and What Just Happened. Always good to see you, pal. Yeah, I mean, there's a laundry list of different games, Shock, that we could show. I mean, you've mentioned Avowed as well. Avowed is one of those games that we saw them announce, put that cinematic trailer, that short one. When was it? In 2020, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think
July.
so.
Yeah, that's right. It was the July 22, and everybody was like, "Oh, wow, this is pretty cool." And we haven't heard anything about it just yet. Do you think we'll be seeing it this year? I mean,
I would think so, if they're willing to show off like that teaser, what would have been 2 years ago, I would think by now we'd have. Okay, they did. They skipped it last E3, so I think they would have at least something more to show.
So
Maybe not like that pre-rendered like teaser. Now they might have like an early like sliver or something. But
fun fact about last year with Obsidian. Obsidian wanted to show Avowed last year. Events with Take-Two made them prioritize Outer Worlds 2 because Take-Two put out a thing in their investors call saying that they were very happy that they'll be working on the sequel to Outer Worlds with Obsidian, and Microsoft had to come out and correct them, and that's why that trailer was in the showcase last year to kind of reiterate that it's a Microsoft project and not a private division project.
oh yeah, so they were at E3 last year, but
Yeah,
yeah,
and
Avowed wasn't there. Yeah.
they wanted to have Avowed, but they had to put that out because it became public knowledge.
Oh yeah.
So they just wanted that out.
Mm-hmm.
So
The
even more,
Microsoft execs, Xbox
leaning
executives.
in
said this.
Avowed's favor, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But man, they have so many freaking studios. It's just like, I don't. Did they say how long this one was going to be? Like 90 minutes?
Yeah, it's 90.
Did they confirm that?
Because like when you think about it, it's
in
like
the Xbox Wire, it says about 90 minutes.
Okay. Okay.
Ooh, that's gonna. I don't know.
Tight.
these shows are going to be.
Right.
It's going to be like a 3-hour show if they purchase Activision.
I don't know. I mean, even in the chat here, they're saying there is. I did see this rumor pop up. I forget who stated it. I think it was Rand on Mav's show the other night that supposedly every game studio has something to be shown from a team. Which, I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of content when you think about the amount of studios from both just the Xbox game studios and the Bethesda studios and ZeniMax. That's crazy. I mean, I don't know how much I hold to that, but they have a crazy amount of content.
It's very important to recognize that his exact wording in the show was they all submitted something for the show. That does not
Right.
mean everything will be chosen for the show. Some things could be going to Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest. I would expect things like like live service games. Like there's no real reason to have like the next season, like anything, unless it's like a huge thing like the Pirate's Life again for Sea of Thieves. Like you don't need to have Sea of Thieves content at this
No.
showcase. You could give that to Jeff Keighley, you
Mhm.
know? So even if they all have something, don't expect to see every studio. For sure. Like I wouldn't.
Mm-hmm. What about smaller narrative-focused games? Because we haven't heard of As Dusk Falls in a long time. I think
That's gonna... Yeah, that'll be there.
I have a feeling, because wasn't there a rating a few weeks ago for it, if I'm not mistaken?
I can look
Shadow
that up
drop.
for you real quick.
I would not be surprised if we saw something from that, because that game has been too quiet, and I could have sworn I saw a rating for it somewhere a little while ago.
What about Contraband? When was that first? Was that last year or the year before?
Last year. Go ahead, Crusader.
As Dusk Falls is going to be at the Tribeca Games Festival. It's going to have a demo there.
Oh.
When's that?
Give me a second. I believe it's in May. It's either it might be early June. Hold on. It is on June 11th.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
There's a 60-minute narrative demo of As Dusk Falls there. So maybe we probably won't see As Dusk Falls at the Xbox showcase then.
That is interesting because that's a global published
before.
game, isn't it?
Yes.
Yep.
A Plague Tale Requiem is also going to have a 40-minute demo at that event the day before. So I would have originally stated that A Plague Tale Requiem was going to be at the Xbox showcase. I'm now reconsidering that because there's no need to, like, the coverage isn't necessary.
Right. And actually, since we're talking about, like, as you mentioned, A Plague's Tale, what about, because they talked about the global partners that will be showcasing there, so we will see third-party games there of some sort. One title that I believe has a tentative release date at the moment, what the hell, Dark Tide, the Warhammer game, the co-op game. That's kind of
that's December,
or is it September? I could have sworn September.
I'll look that up for you real quick.
I could have sworn
It's a burr month.
yeah, no,
for
well,
sure.
it's in the latter half of the year, but that's another one that's exclusive, and we haven't seen any real gameplay. But
September's right.
they've been teasing stuff recently, like concept art and a few other images. So they've been slowly starting some things. I would not be surprised to see them there. I mean, again, that's a co-op game, and it's perfect to show off Game Pass for it. It's a huge IP.
Yep, September 13th. You were correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I'm a Warhammer dork, so I keep my eyes on these titles. But okay, you're talking about September there. I mean, there's only so much time in between now. I mean, we're May 1st now, so they got to show it off.
I think you could almost guarantee that because it's an Xbox. It's an Xbox and PC exclusive, to my knowledge.
Yes.
Like, I know it's a Game Pass game, but I'm pretty sure it's also an exclusive game.
Mm-hmm. No, that's correct. They have an exclusivity deal on it. I'm not sure. We're not sure about the length of it or whatnot, but yes, it is. So I would not. I would like to see it there personally because I really like the Fat Shark's Warhammer titles so far. I mean, you can talk to Centurion about this. We've had a lot of fun with Vermintide, so I can just imagine Darktide in Warhammer 40,000 is absolutely chaos and nuts. But speaking Centurion, pal, I mean, I want to get your thoughts here because honestly, we've been waiting for a date, and lo and behold, June 12th, both Xbox and Bethesda doing a joint show. Can't show everything, obviously. What do you think we'll be seeing?
Oh man. See, that's the only thing. Like, there is a lot of Xbox games that I do want to see, but there is also, I'm hoping that Xbox is going to show some of the other games that they also have marketing rights to, because we still have a lot of games that, that we're all wanting to play that we haven't really heard much from. Like the big one for me is Callisto Protocol. I would like to know what's going on with that developer. Is that game still going on? There's also some other ones that are on the Game Pass marketing side of things. The Scorn and what's the other one? Atomic Heart. Would love to really know if those games are going to come to fruition, especially Atomic Heart, considering the developer is located in Moscow, Russia. So definitely there's some games that definitely have disappeared off the radar that I would love to hear at least something about them. But I'm also excited for what Microsoft has been cooking up on the side. I want to know more about Dying Light 3, especially, not Dying Light 3, State of Decay 3. Forgive me. State of Decay 3 at Undead Labs. I know where it's being made. I'm wanting to know more about this game, especially when I found out that they're using Unreal 5 in State of Decay 3. I'm really curious on what this game is going to look like, what it's going to play like. Are we going to have that, that real indie experience that the other two games presented us, where it wasn't really a lot of bells and whistles? It was just a very, very awesome concept of a game. I would really love to see them really throw everything in the kitchen sink and a budget at this game. And when I heard that they're using Unreal 5, I'm really excited. Want to know what's going on. Somebody also shockingly mentioned Compulsion Games. Ever since a little bit of what oh my gosh, well, Jez Gordon, I believe, is the gentleman that released a little bit about what they were working on. Compulsion, I still need to play. We Happy is it We Happy Few? Is that the name of the game?
That's correct.
I still need to play that one. But definitely an interesting concept of a game. Looks strange, doesn't look as strange as some of the other stuff that we've seen in gaming. I'm just excited to be seeing something coming from Xbox. We're obviously going to be getting more Starfield content than we can handle. Literally after this event, everybody's going to be talking about games, Xbox. But I mean, literally social media is going to be drowning in the infinite ocean known as Starfield, especially when they reveal hopefully some gameplay trailer. Definitely a little bit of in-depth on what we're expecting when it comes to gameplay, the environment that we're going to be playing in, and just the overall concept of the game, because we haven't really seen too much outside of concept art.
Right.
and what people have talked about what they're creating in the game. There is a lot of Redfall. Really want to know more about Redfall. When's this game going to be available? Same with Contraband. The list could go on. I mean, we could be here all night talking about what they're working on, which is the big problem for the fact that, you know, Invaders talked about it, Crusader just talked about it. There is not enough time in this event for everyone. And that, yes, Crusader is probably more than likely right. This is going to be split up. We're going to have certain games going to different events. But it is good to see once again that Xbox is probably, in my opinion, more than likely, because June 12th is right around the corner. It's May 1st right now. We haven't heard much out of Jeff Keighley. We might as well just be say Xbox is once again helping Jeff Keighley kick off the summer of games. And we're going to be going through June, July, and a little bit into August, seeing a lot of games being talked about, presented to us. And, you know, it's that time of year for gamers to be excited in the gaming industry, especially with the amount of growth that the gaming industry has seen. So it's definitely going to be a good summer to sit down and watch what we're going to have offered to us by the gaming industry.
Oh, certainly. And again, Starfield is going to be the big thing for this conference, no doubt. And when you think about Xbox Bethesda conference, their first one officially, well, I mean, okay, I guess technically they were together last year, but you know what I mean. I mean, it's a big function of them being together, and they're going to blow out Starfield, like, big time. I know that Bethesda generally does pretty large walkthroughs for their big titles. I know all the Fallout games have them and so on. Like, they can go anywhere from 15 to 25 minutes, something like that. So I'm really curious about how they're gonna ballpark the time here, because I'm thinking that Xbox is gonna have lots of different things to show. So
I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think we're going to get the big walkthrough.
mm-hmm.
I think that we're going to get a small one, and they're going to announce come back for the extended cut on Thursday, like they did last year.
Okay.
And that's when you're going to get the deeper dive one, and that'll be the much, much longer live showcase. That, remember, I think it was Paris did it last year.
Oh yeah.
Because I think that's how they get away with that. Because they want this main showcase for the masses to be short and concise. I don't think we're going to see the super large gameplay demo the same day. Maybe after.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be curious how that works out. I mean, you gotta admit though, they're pretty pumped to have Starfield under
so
their.
Excited.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's pretty pumped to, like, I've been seeing some really negative things on social media from certain parts of the gaming sphere, if you will, but no, a lot of people are looking forward to see what the big deal of Starfield is about. Me too. I'm genuinely excited for it. I think it's going to be the next big RPG. I still can't believe how many RPGs Xbox has under their belt now. Damn. Like, they basically...
Did you see the list that I had up the other day?
You have lots of lists.
I have lots of lists. It's my thing.
Yeah.
It's massive. The amount of Western RPGs we're getting in the next, 5-6 years is incredible. Most we've ever had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's why, again, if they'll be curious about how they choose, which RPGs they show, because, again, we just talked about Avowed and Starfield. They did announce Fable last year, I believe. Was it last year?
Yeah, that was also 2020.
Yeah.
It was the same event Avowed was announced at.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I totally... Yeah. Sorry, guys.
They closed it.
Yeah, you're right. Wow. Time flies. It's been that long. Wow. I'm just they have so much now. General MLD pal, we're just going through talking about all Starfield and what Compulsion's gonna show. Please chime in here. We got Xbox and Bethesda both under the same big ass show. What do you think? What are your hopes that we see from all this? Because we have all kinds of different games either that we know about through trailers or just leaks or just even just theories that we have at this point.
Oh yeah, I mean, and if it's confirmed that it'll be the usual hour and a half, it's gonna be tight. They definitely got to make some hard choices and save some submissions from the developers for later in the year for other shows, which I get. But I think it's in their best interest to do to really kind of do overkill more or less and show some games that we know about but haven't really seen before. Like of course, Starfield will be front and center. Given the 90-minute slot, I mean, we'll be lucky to get maybe 10, 15 minutes out of that whole thing. So hopefully they can squeeze in as much as possible without giving maybe too much away. Of course, I think we'll see Redfall. People seem to be divided on this, but I think Forza Motorsport 8 will be announced, or not announced, but gameplay will be shown. Hopefully, it'll get a release date for this year. I'm leaning towards that being a yes. I think that's possible. I think the game's been in development for what, 5 years now? I think they can make it work for this year, and it'll be it'll be amazing. Like we saw the trailer, it looked next gen only. It was gorgeous. So I'm hoping that is also announced. As Dusk Falls, but Crusader said it'll be shown the day before, so there's that. I think Grounded will be shadow dropped. I think it's finally due to have its 1.0 full release, get out of beta. I think that's gonna be due pretty soon, sooner rather than later. I think we'll see gameplay of Avowed and maybe more of Hellblade 2 if we're lucky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And as far as maybe other studios go, I think Compulsion might be ready to show something. I think World's Edge, they're actually the low-key underdog of Xbox studios. They actually make a game or release a game every year. I think they're going to show maybe Age of Mythology for PC and Age of Empires 4 for console. That's just me, but I think that they're going to show up with something. ZeniMax Online, they've been quiet for a while. Their last game was Elder Scrolls Online. I think they're due for a new game. Roundhouse Studios for ZeniMax, so for Bethesda, I think they're also due. There's rumors of them making a player versus player, third person kind of online game. So I'm looking forward to that. Third party wise, I think they'll have some Game Pass deals. Might see Call of Duty, might see maybe, I don't know, Gotham Knights, like a few high profile third party games. But overall, it's gonna be tight. I hope they can really, really fit in the best of the best, but also save a couple gems for maybe later in the year.
Mm-hmm. Well said.
I'm
I mean,
excited.
no, you're right, and I'm excited too. There's a lot that we could technically go over. What about? I mean, technically, again, Bethesda's sharing the stage. Could we see? Again, I'm not sure about the contractual nature of this, but could we see something about just a little clip of Deathloop or Ghostwire Tokyo on coming to Xbox at some point, coming in September or something like that?
Oh yeah, at least Deathloop, because that's around the corner. That released what, September last year? So I think it wouldn't hurt to just remind everybody, hey, it's gonna come this September, whatever date. Day one Game Pass. Yeah, just get that out there. I think it's a little too far away to talk about Ghostwire, but I mean, yeah, that's coming in March. So I think they don't have to mention that. It's too soon for that. But yeah, I think so. I think Deathloop will get we'll get a small trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, that sounds about right. Yeah. Yeah, because you want to let people know that oh yeah, this game we own it and it's coming to our platform on Game Pass. You guys can download it if you have Game Pass for free. So, why? What about, man, there's so much to talk about here.
I know.
I mean, you mentioned sorry, what was it? World's Edge. Studio almost left my mind there for a sec, MLD. I mean, obviously, a couple of weeks ago, we saw something leaked on the store. It was Rise of Nations. It did just randomly pop up. We've heard mutterings ourselves through the grapevine that, we could see some PC, again, announcements, for console, whether it be Age of Empires 4 as well. That could be a thing. I think it will be a pretty good show that way. I mean, last year they had Flight Simulator coming to console. It just, I don't know, to me it kind of makes some sense too. That would be cool. I think a lot of people would be really receptive to that. Man, what other, in the chat they're saying In Exile. I mean, that's a possibility. Weren't they teasing something like a year ago, or maybe it was like something about
Their
it.
Project Cobalt could be. There's a few games that they could easily close the show off with, because the one more thing is going to be an unannounced project, and it's going to be a CG trailer. I think that's a given. They've done it for the last like 4 shows. So like I think your strong candidates for that are the Compulsion Studios Project Midnight, Project Cobalt from In Exile, whatever Roundhouse is working on. I don't have a project name for it. Or potentially even like Project Dragon from IO.
Right.
I
mean,
or
there's
Project Suerte.
Yeah.
From Certain Affinity.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, those are deals that we've heard that were cut. Well, actually, we don't even know, to be honest. I guess. I mean, it's possible. It's possible.
Well, remember, the CG trailers are not just to tell us that this is happening. They're also meant for hiring for the projects. That's why you've seen. That's why we've seen more games than ever be announced in literally a blog post, like The Witcher 4. Like, the most unceremonious announcement for one of the biggest franchises that there is, like, most popular. Yeah, they announced it in a blog post. Why? Because they need to hire people. You know? So, they could announce the GoldenEye remaster that, like, has shown up on True Achievements.
Yes. And that would be awesome. You know what? I want to say they might. I hope that's real. I mean, obviously, because again, it did pop up on True Achievements, as you said. Man, I would love to play GoldenEye again. Anybody else here on the panel like really want to play GoldenEye again? Like a nice remaster?
Played it. So
I'll play the campaign. I played the multiplayer over friends' houses back in the day, but with the split screen and all that stuff. But I never played the campaign, so I'll actually do that.
Yeah, I would love to do that. I'm just kind of curious because again, that game
already ahead of you. Already been playing it on the PC.
Oh, yeah, there's that.
The remaster.
Oh, right, because the 360 one leaked, right? The 360 build?
Full game. And it's like Halo, where you can just switch back and forth between the old graphics and new graphics on the fly. So if you get it, you don't even need to have that much of a decent, pretty much a decent PC can run that. So.
I'll be curious though if they kind of hold that off as well, like maybe save it for later in the year, because the whole thing going on in Eastern Europe, Russia and whatnot, because that game is heavily centered, around like Russia and whatnot. I'm just kind of curious to see how they kind of deal with that. So
I could see that showing up at Nintendo's event.
Well,
it's Nintendo's agreement for allowing the remake to happen, because they're one of the parties that like owns a portion of like why it can't come to anything.
Right. Yeah, wouldn't that be something if it went to a Nintendo Treehouse? Like, they show all these kid-friendly games, and oh, remember GoldenEye? Oh, here we go, in conjunction with Microsoft and Rare. Oh, that'd be something. Maybe we could see something like that. I mean, obviously Phil likes to hint at things, right? And hasn't he had a Switch on his shelf in certain appearances in recent months? So I think it's there for a reason.
In the end, it'll score. It's free brownie points. Like, people love nostalgia. Like, it's just good PR. It may not move the needle like console sales wise, or it won't sell millions and upon millions, but it's just good overall PR. And you need good word of mouth in this industry.
No,
Halo Infinite's gonna be there too. I guarantee it. Did you guys watch the thing this week? The live stream?
I did not catch the live stream. I mean, I caught people who were covering it. I caught some of that.
Did you see like the thing that like popped up while they were talking and had a countdown timer with a bunch of numbers and stuff on it?
Oh yeah.
Did you hear about this?
Yes.
It had 2 specific dates. It had the date of the thing itself, and then the date June 14th, which is the Tuesday immediately following this showcase.
Okay.
We don't know why, but that's like the reset day. Like, that's weekly reset is Tuesday. So I think they're gonna show something. I don't know what. It could be as small as like the new Fracture event for Halo Infinite.
Mhm.
It could be, oh, we're going to drop a timed beta for Tatanka project, the battle royale PvE mode. Who knows? I mean, it is season of the lone wolf or whatever it is, starting in May. So who knows? But I think Halo is going to be there in some way, almost certainly.
Oh yeah, they gotta get some hype ramping up for that game again. Maybe tease something from season 3 or one of the modes that are gonna come in season 2. Oh yeah, yeah. They're gonna open beta that. They gotta get some hype going for that too.
That's right. And I am curious too, because remember when the game released back in December, on the actual release date, they had trademarked like Halo Infinite the Endless.
Yep.
And that obviously has to do with campaign DLC, I would assume, or campaign add-on. And in the recent roadmap, there was nothing attached to that. So I would kind of be curious too if like a teaser or something for that could possibly show up. I mean, they've been very quiet on the actual campaign front. So, I mean, that's a possibility. But they've also been very busy working on the whole roadmap aspect multiplayer wise, so, and just fixing some housekeeping things with Halo Infinite. So I don't know, maybe that's a little too far out still. That's yet to be seen, but I mean, I would like to see what that's about though. I don't know, guys, I mean, could we see, I don't know, any new hardware announcements, I mean, packed in here, or do you think they'll just focus on like services and games? Because I don't know. Do you think they're due for a new upgrade to the Elite controller yet? Maybe, possibly.
Oh yeah, I mean, wasn't there like rumblings of like the Xbox Elite 3 controller? Something like that, like the next iteration.
Someone was asking, I don't remember who, it was one of the Xbox executives. It might have been Jason Ronald, but I don't think it was him, was asking people what kind of stuff would they like to see in a new series controller, and everyone was saying the DualSense features, because like the rumble is good. I don't like the triggers, but the rumble is pretty good. And that was sometime last year, so maybe we could see something about that now. I think we'll see a streaming stick. Like a Roku. You know, you plug into your TV. It's got like the Xbox protocol. You can buy it in a controller for like $100 and you've got Xbox Cloud to go, you know?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. We had speculated on that like a year ago because they were talking about, you know, just expansion into different things because they've been partnering with like Samsung and LG.
Yep.
And it just kind of makes sense to have some kind of a, I think even Phil talked about it at one point last year about again having I can't remember the exact wording, but it sounded to me like a streaming stick of some sort. So
I think Tom Warren of The Verge sometimes last year wrote an article saying that like they were working on one. Looking for I should have that somewhere.
you have everything there, man. You pull up everything.
You've seen the stupid mega thread I write. By the way, I'm going to be putting that up a week before the showcase, and I will have a section where I'm going to talk about what I think is going to happen. So look forward to that a week before the showcase.
Right. Well, we'll know more. Well, we'll have some more hints, I'm sure, further down the line. They got so much in store, and like just even from projects that, you know, we've just seen trailers for like a year or two ago, and with the additional studios that they picked up, like even ZeniMax Online, we don't know what the heck they're working on, or again some of these other ZeniMax studios. Just very curious. Like you said, Roundhouse as well, Crusader. I mean, apparently there's this Spy Team game that got trademarked. We talked about it a few weeks ago as well.
I think originally it was rumored to be at Bethesda Austin. However, a leaker or a former employee who was confirmed to be a former employee said that it was actually at Dallas.
All right.
Bethesda Dallas. So that and he said it was, I think, what's his name? Todd Howard. It was like one of Todd Howard's like pet projects. It was a smaller project, but it was one that Todd Howard wanted to get up and going.
That's interesting that Todd Howard really wants to be invested in this smaller project. Okay, that's something to keep an eye on. All right. All right. All right. Hey, guys, anybody else have any other comments like about the showcase? I mean, obviously we're a month and a month and a half away from this now, but I mean, it's good. It's good to hear this. I mean, Xbox and Bethesda are really taking the reins on this because like somebody was saying before, I mean, besides some of these shows like the Summer Game Fest and maybe Gamescom, I mean, we really don't know what some of the other publishers are going to be doing. So,
Oh yeah. Also, QuakeCon. Did you mention that too?
no, actually, but yes, you are correct. QuakeCon, because isn't that in like early August, I believe?
Yeah,
Yeah.
August.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So they got to have something there. They got to.
The rumored Quake reboot, if those rumors are to be believed.
You know what?
Oh, yeah.
I could believe that. Or, guys, I mean, what about Indiana Jones? I mean, right?
Maybe next year. My gut's telling me maybe next E3. I feel like Machine Games. There's still that will they or won't they make Wolfenstein 3 beforehand. There's still like surprisingly no information on that. So I don't know. We gotta wait and see on that.
Harrison Ford is still filming the next Indiana Jones movie. I think they're going to try to kind of start generating hype when we start getting hype for the movie when it's in its final stages of post-production.
Yeah.
Oh, don't get me started with that. Oh man, poor Harrison.
He's too old. Why is he doing it? He's too old.
I guess according to some of the stuff I've read, he actually looks pretty damn good for his age, and he's actually doing quite well.
Oh, okay then. Well, I guess we'll see.
Yeah, just don't let that guy fly a plane.
You know who we didn't? What studio we didn't mention?
The Coalition?
Tango.
Oh, Tango, yes.
We didn't mention the Coalition. I don't think they're going to be there. I genuinely don't think the Coalition's going to be there.
All right.
Maybe we'll get a teaser for Gears 6, right? Maybe that's the one more thing. That would be pretty cool. I don't expect, if anything, we get CG from them. I don't expect to see that. But the creative director, I cannot remember his name, but he's the one who led Evil Within.
Yes, I know who you're talking about. Mikami?
He retweeted the event with the like looking eyes emoji.
Oh, did he?
Yes. So that could just be, he's excited that it's like the first settled in big showcase that they're doing with Xbox, right? Because last year they were definitely not settled in at that point. That was only a few months after the acquisition had finalized. This is their first full year being a Microsoft company, so it could just be him like supporting the devs, because I guarantee that he has seen some of the things that like people at Xbox Game Studios are working at, other Bethesda studios, stuff like that. But we know that they have at least 2 more projects in development other than Ghostwire Tokyo, which did come out, right?
Yeah.
They have at least 2 more.
Yeah, he was talking about them, I believe, being in smaller projects and being vastly different from like Ghostwire Tokyo or Evil Within, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So,
which
has me very curious. That studio, again, I haven't played Ghostwire Tokyo. I've heard varying things about it, more good things than bad things, but again, just it's a different kind of game overall. But I really like the Evil Within. I'm still playing through the Evil Within 2, but I do think that they are a very talented studio, Tango. I'm curious to see what else they can cook up. I think that can be a very, very good studio for Xbox. Again, it's their only Japanese studio at the moment, and I'm pretty sure they plan on growing them. I mean, that would be a good thing. That'd be a good thing to do, I would imagine. But yeah, guys, we will see what, again, just in the coming weeks, what gets teased and what gets announced, and I'm pretty sure we'll hear more things as the days and the weeks go by, but it's good to see that Xbox is being very proactive about this and, getting the news out of this show. And, we won't have to wait very long, to be honest. So looking forward to this. All right. And guys, if you haven't done so already, please share this show out across Twitter and whatever social media sites that you like. And hey, give a like if you are enjoying the chat, and hey, definitely participate in the chat. I love seeing you guys participate in the chat. Got a very lively bunch tonight. Dreadpool, What Just Happened, Others Inc., and so on. Great seeing you guys here. Now, why don't we move on to another topic, guys? And a few days ago, Activision shareholders approved the Microsoft acquisition of, well, Activision-Blizzard. Now, pretty much it was unanimous at 98% and now heads over to regulation. Now, Centurion, my stalwart seeker of gaming knowledge, yeah, I think you would like that term, actually. What do you think of this news, considering that, some were worried about, the shareholders maybe not accepting this, and, there seems to be a lot of skepticism, through all this, which I find kind of weird, but anyways, yeah, please give me your thoughts on this. I mean, the shareholders obviously approved this by a very large margin. How do you feel going into next steps of all this?
Oh man. Well, for starters, when it comes to a lot of people on social media, they remind me of that statue of the three monkeys of see no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil, except for it's just one person with their eyes completely closed shut, fingers in their ears, not wanting to accept the fact that Microsoft actually was able to not only flip the bill for Activision, but also to get their ducks in a row to actually, know what they're doing. Like Microsoft has known since day one, this was not going to be a Bethesda purchase. This was not going to be some walk in the park. They knew what they were going up against a little bit. I was a little curious because we obviously heard all this stuff about how shareholders were releasing or were wanting to put in lawsuits because there wasn't enough clarification on the deal. And it was a bunch of stuff. And it was basically a bunch of hot air. If you really read into it, I mean, today I found out that Crusader retweeted something at Hogue Law. Really awesome YouTube channel. If you've never checked it out, has a thing called Virtual Legality, where he breaks down basically gaming, because he actually, if I'm correct, Crusader, he's a contract lawyer, and he really loves breaking down the fine print and helping people understand just basically the background knowledge of what you get yourselves into and how things work. And he explained how a lot of these lawsuits that came from the shareholders were just because they forgot a small little step in the process. And all this lawsuit does is basically create a flag of, hey, you missed something. We need you to fix it before you go to court. They fixed it. They didn't go to court. The lawsuit was dropped. This is kind of like how it was predicted out. And now we've seen that by 98%, all the shareholders actually do want to sell their stock of Activision. I mean, let's look at why they would want to get out of the game. I mean, let's just be upfront. Bobby Kotick is basically created a very, very black eye on that company. If I was a shareholder and I had Microsoft standing in the room offering money to get out of that situation, I would want to get as far away from Bobby Kotick as I can, because that dude is a big problem waiting to happen if that dude continues being in the industry. But that's a different discussion for a whole nother show. But anyways, definitely it shows that Microsoft was right to want to purchase a company. All their intuition was correct on how the shareholders really want this to happen. And now we're seeing a lot of smoke coming from he will remain unnamed because I don't want to get anybody on this show or the show in trouble, because he's a block happy individual that I've noticed, who likes to basically say that Wall Street is betting against Microsoft when that could not be further from the truth.
You're saying it rhymes with crier.
Right. Basically, it's kind of funny how his name rhymes with Trier, because he's always trying to pull some kind of BS. But that's where it's just like, if you're going, like, I love when you read these articles. Oh yes, the FTC got involved with this whole thing, and normally they leave it to this department of the government, but the FTC wanted to get involved. No, you either have it handled by the Federal Trade Commission, or what's the other half, Crusader?
Justice.
The Justice Department. They're like, if you read on paper, it basically does not on paper say this department handles this department handles that. It basically says whatever department feels they are the most qualified will handle it. And the FTC is more qualified than the Justice Department because of the amount of technology that is involved. We're starting to see Microsoft starting to really corner the cloud market. They are one of the world's leading suppliers of cloud technology with Azure. They're pushing cloud gaming. They are basically helping form a new economy, a new part of the industry. And the FTC is watching this very closely, because you can't have Microsoft basically corner this entire market and shut out any and all competition. And that is probably the only thing that the FTC is worried about. But we're already seeing PlayStation come out with their version of a gaming service that would basically compete on a cloud level. We're starting to see the cloud infrastructure starting to spread across the world and used in many different ways in gaming. And I'm starting to say that Microsoft probably does have a good chance of this happening. I could go on all night, but let's get other people in here. Don't want to hog the microphone. This is something to be happy about, though, that literally Microsoft definitely had their ears wide open and took the temperature of the room, and they were correct. 98% of shareholders want to sell Activision.
Well, yeah, because they want to get paid. I mean, the stock, I don't know if anybody looks at the stocks.
It's just in. Shareholders like money.
Yeah, right.
Well,
Sean?
I mean, like, if you read certain sources, there's no money because nobody's buying the stock. When it's just like, no, it's the point is, you're going to probably see the stock start becoming more popular as 2023 approaches, and we get into 2023, where they said it's supposed to close by June of 2023, but it could stretch out to then. Like that, just because it doesn't close by June of 2023 doesn't mean that they're just going to be like, oh, rip the paperwork up, we're done, it didn't close on June 20. No, it just means it takes longer. And that's the whole thing. It's a gamble. Like, do you want to pay $75 a share, $76 a share today, and keep your shares locked in for at least a year to a year and a half, and you'll get your $95 a share, but you better have enough scratch basically sitting around to basically invest money that long?
Well, it is interesting that, what was it, yesterday, or it may have been earlier today, that Warren Buffett, that investing mogul, his company, Berkshire Hathaway, he bought, what was it? Okay, originally they had about 1% of Activision-Blizzard stock, and now they own about, close to 10%, because I guess they know about things going on here with Activision and Microsoft buying them and whatnot, and I suppose they're leaning towards that this is going to go through. And the way that things are right now financially, I mean, you don't just gamble that money free willing. I mean, you got to think that, oh, you know what, this has a good chance of going through, because you're talking about millions of dollars here.
We're also talking about Warren Buffett, a man who has made a livelihood on playing the big boy slot machine known as the stock market, and he has invested in companies like this before, and his predictions have helped made him a lot of money, or gambling on companies that are in the middle of being bought out. But I love what he said towards this purchase on, just because the deal doesn't go through on Xbox and Activision doesn't mean he loses his money. He actually does not know what is going to happen if this whole thing doesn't happen. He's like, for all I know, they could all of a sudden, Activision stock soars and I get my money back anyways. It just comes down to that the unknowns are there of, if the deal doesn't go through, nobody knows what's going to happen. If the deal does go through, you get $95 a share.
Yeah. I mean, he has that quote, be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when others are fearful. So, you know,
Mm-hmm.
if the Wall Street's, skeptical of this, that's when you make money. That's when he, guesses right.
Mm-hmm.
And then if these go up, if he bought all those, whatever, how many shares he bought, and then Microsoft, and the deal goes through and Microsoft's paying like 95 a share. Cha-ching.
Well, I mean,
He's got a team of analysts sitting around somewhere in a room basically telling that watch the stock market daily.
mm-hmm. Well, I mean, not financial advice here, guys, but it's always good to buy the dip. You don't buy when prices are high, you buy when prices are low. Kind of like when Microsoft swooped in when Activision again was low back in like November, right? I mean, basically you're buying it for at a bargain price, you could say. But things again. I don't know how many people here like pay attention to like the stocks and the markets and whatnot, but yeah, it is a little fearful in the markets right now. I'm actually kind of curious to see how tomorrow goes. I'll be checking on that, but again, a lot of these big investors, they're going to be putting their money into sure things, I would think. So I think that's a good sign. That's a good sign, especially when you look at Berkshire Hathaway's holdings. They don't hold a lot of tech stock, actually. So it's interesting. I think they just recently got some Apple, but it's more like, I think, financials and some other things. So it's interesting that they did put like a lot of money into Activision-Blizzard, if they see that going through. So to me, that's a good sign. Let's see. MLD, I don't think I heard you chime in here. I mean, I don't know. Are you do you think that I mean, obviously this is a pretty good sign here about 98% of the that the shareholders are like, yeah, we approve. You think things are going to be good from here on out?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm no expert in this market, but I mean, I feel like if this deal is supposed to last June 2023 fiscal year quarter for Microsoft, I think this is just moving. It's moving along at a nice steady pace. This is one step closer to it. This was actually the one part where like I was kind of like maybe like wondering, is it going to go through or not? Because I mean, if they said no here, I mean, like the deal's done. It is what it is. But this is like overwhelming majority. All the naysayers, they're starting to be a little bit more quiet now. Like the fear mongering starting to die down a little bit. I feel like all the posturing from the politicians, they said their piece, but that's like in the past now. I think that's gonna kind of die down too. Warren Buffett doing his thing, that shows, that's like a good sign for me. Yeah, it's going to go through. I am confident it's going to go through one way or another. If they got to make some concessions, like keeping Call of Duty multi-platform, if they got to do things like that, they'll do it. But I think it's at the end of the day, it's going to go through. And this is just one less step to do. So, yeah, I'm pretty confident. Like, Microsoft, they wouldn't do this. They wouldn't turn the key on this if they weren't 100% sure they could pull this off. In the end of the day, that's what I believe. They went into this knowing it would work at the end. So yeah, I just can't wait for it to actually be done. Hopefully it's done sooner. Ideally, I would like this deal to close before E3 of next year, so they can actually include that. Because like what the time with the E3 where they got Bethesda, they just said, oh, here's all the games coming on the Game Pass, the entire Bethesda back catalog. I want them to do that next E3 for Activision-Blizzard, and that's gonna be a massive games dump. So that'll go a long way, and hopefully they can get it done before then. But I'm not worried about this at all. It's gonna happen.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing too, right? I mean, it's going to be a massive game dump, so they can show like a quick reel of it. But I mean, they're not going to spend a lot of time on it. But when you see the articles come out and you just see like you're just reading through the list, holy crap, that's going to be amazing to see all the content being pumped into Game Pass, both for Xbox and PC. That's going to be crazy. It's funny though, guys, because some outlets, You know, they think that this deal won't go through. And I mean, I'm not saying it can't go through. Uh, you know, obviously I'm no expert in this kind of thing, but at the same time, there seems to be reason to believe that, you know, there's a good feeling, there's a good chance that it will, though. But there will be some oversight on it. It's just amazing when I see like sites like Business Insider. I mean, there's a few others out there. I mean, obviously we just spoke of a game journalist that is very critical, you could say, especially of Xbox. It just, you know, it's kind of weird sentiment because I don't see these kinds of things being dumped onto other publishers when they buy large studios and so on. Like Crusader, like honestly, like isn't it kind of weird, like when you see some of these I don't know, just like again these articles popping up. I mean, okay, there might be a little bit of skepticism, but at the same time, it's like, you know, it's not like Microsoft is really cornering the market. I mean, okay, Activision is a big buy, but I mean, it is kind of weird with some of the sentiment being shared around.
So, I don't want to say the name of any particular source. Let's just call them publication former presidential candidate. And this source was using pretty bad mathematics behind their argument for why people are saying that the market has very little faith in the deal. And there's definitely uncertainty. It cannot be argued that there isn't uncertainty. There's always going to be uncertainty, right? But let's just take a quick look at some of the very simple math behind it. I'm not going to go into any formulas or anything, because for the audience, if you're not aware, I have a degree in computer science and a degree in mathematics with several classes in actuarial science, the mathematics of essentially money. And one of the big things is when we're talking about the stock value being worth $95 when Microsoft purchases it, they're going to be purchasing it most likely somewhere between 9 on the I'm feeling very optimistic and 14 if I'm feeling very pessimistic months from now. And currently inflation rates are at like what, 8.5%, something ridiculous. So your money right now, $1 right now, if the inflation rate stays at 8.5%, is going to be worth about like 9 cents less, right? So when you look at that at $95 at potentially 14 months away, that $95 is really only going to be worth then what, 89-ish dollars is worth now. So you're already seeing a little bit of a closer comparison in the stocks, because the stock is currently sitting at like somewhere between like 75 and 77, fluctuates every day. So you're already seeing it much closer than what Bloomberg would have you to believe, because you're not getting paid right now. You're getting paid in like 9 to 14 months. So you're not going to see the value of the stock match up. You'll never see it match up one for one until the day that it converts over. And that brings me into the second mathematical thing that I would like to bring up, which is the argument of present value versus future value, which is an investment concept where your money today will be worth more later based on like compounding interest. And that's essentially what this kind of purchase is. Like, when you normally buy stocks, you're expecting the stock to go up with the growth of the company, but this isn't really that, because
Right.
Activision-Blizzard's not growing, right? This is essentially a glorified bond where you're putting money in today, expecting money out tomorrow. And you have to think about it from an investment perspective. Would this money be worth more right now for me to put somewhere else, rather than having to put it into Activision-Blizzard, where it's not actually going to grow? I'm going to receive a payment later, but it's just going to be sitting there, not growing until I get paid. And then you have on top of that the actual risk, because there is risk that the FTC could block this, and not necessarily that they could actually stop the deal from happening, but that they could prolong this process, that they could say, we are not happy with what's happening. We want X, Y, and Z concessions that like Centurion and MLD brought up. And if you don't, we're going to bring this to court. Now, that would be a pretty big bluff because they do not have a very strong case against Microsoft. They have a case that could be made, but it's not very strong. It would probably be very easy for Microsoft to beat them down in court. But when you see that, even if Microsoft was to win in court, your money is locked up in these stocks until the deal ends up going through. So in the end, you want to have your money to work for you as best as you can, as efficiently as you can. So it is not it's not necessarily when you're 14 months out the best time to put your money in immediately, unless you are exceptionally certain it's a surefire deal and the return is good. You will expect this to grow closer to the value at about, I would argue, this like July or August, if we don't see the value trending up. Now, we may even see it to start trending up now because of the Warren Buffett purchase over the weekend announcement. Because that's when Warren Buffett's doing something, you know that your risk there probably isn't as much risk as one would think. So ultimately, I think the math and analysis done by the two specific individuals that we aren't going to name was not the greatest. And if you want a little bit more detailed explanation of this, this is essentially exactly what you're going to see Hoglaw talk about on his channel, is that he even goes into the math. He'll give you the exact numbers, and you'll see that there is a mild case of uncertainty right now, but it's only like 10 to 15%. He said, and I quote, "It's even better than the uncertainty that he personally has that he's seeing based on the actuarial mathematics that he's essentially doing."
Right.
I hope I didn't bore anyone too much with my very basic, very elementary math lesson today.
Well, I think I heard Centurion snoring, so but otherwise, I mean, I think we're pretty good, I mean,
yeah.
1 out of 5 isn't too bad. No, I'm just kidding, Centurion. But no, that was a pretty good explanation. That was pretty good. And I think all the guys in the chat appreciate that too. By the way, we have an awesome $10 super chat from Dirk Griggity, our friend from the We Bleed Green podcast. Thank you, buddy, for the super chat. Don't worry, I didn't forget about you. I just wanted to hold the chat just until we're finished this topic. He says, "What's up, everybody? Will they title next year's show Xbox, Bethesda, Activision-Blizzard games showcase, or is that too much?" I don't know. I mean, you got Attack on King there, and man, I mean, just the amount of IP and the amount of studios.
Just call it the E3 showcase.
Just call it E3. I mean, Microsoft will be E3 as a whole. That's what's gonna happen. I mean, obviously Sony doesn't care, EA, Nintendo does their own thing as well. So they've been doing that for a while. So, good on Xbox, obviously, good on Microsoft. Honestly, Dirt, I just kind of like the idea of having, I mean, okay, Xbox has their grand showcase. Bethesda will be a part of that from the looks of it. And then it would be interesting, don't you think, to have like Activision do their own like little showcase in the summer and have them all spread out through a couple of months. I mean, that would be interesting, just a part of Xbox Game Studios. You have, like 343, the Coalition, Compulsion, and all of them under the Xbox Game Studios banner. And then, you have a couple of other studios from all these different branches showcase on the Xbox stage. And then you have the other big publishers under that, like Bethesda, like Activision-Blizzard. They do their own things throughout the summer as well. Just spread it out. Because there's no way There's no way you can have, show as much content as you can in a 90-minute show, unless you made it like a 3-hour show, which, I mean, let's be honest, it's, 90 minutes is, it's a pretty good time frame overall, I would think. So, I mean, if 3 hours, that's a little much. But that's just me ballparking in any case. But anyways, thank you very much, Dirt, for the $10 super chat. You are amazing, my friend. Guys, any other comments before we move on to our next topic? Yes, no? No, I think we're good. I think we're pretty good. But yeah, guys, why don't we move over? Speaking of which, to the last topic, and it is something pretty interesting that came up during the week. According to various game industry outlets and personalities, Warner Brothers Discovery is planning to do a big fire sale of its studios and IP. We've been hearing about this we talked about it on the show, like a year ago or so. It keeps popping up. But it's been picking up a lot of steam as of late, especially since the big merger between Warner Brothers and Discovery. And according to, there's been different journalists talking about this, but according to Fanbyte's Imran Khan, a bunch of studios are interested, and they include EA, Take-Two, Microsoft, Sony, Tencent, NetEase, and PUBG Corp. So, quite a slew of big publishers there, to say the least. General MLD Bud, I'll hit off with you first here on this one. It sounds like Warner Brothers Discovery, they want to unload a bunch of their assets here. What do you think we'll be what do you think we'll be hearing about some of these studio purchases? Like, do you think that we'll be hearing some of them soon, some of them later? And do you think that Xbox is going to get involved here?
It's very interesting because the selling of the studios is one thing, but then you read the rumor that they want to license out the IP, and that's where, in my opinion, it gets interesting, because if they want to license out the IP, it could be in a non-exclusive capacity. So whoever gets these games, if it's say Sony or Xbox, even though they would have the license, they would still have to make the game multi-platform. And then the question becomes, if Xbox, for example, is interested, is it worth the investment? I mean, sure, they can get it, put the game on Game Pass day one, and just get the marketing rights and hope that the return on investment will come from that PR and all the positive word of mouth. But yeah, but another part of me thinks that maybe they're a little tied up right now in the moment with the Activision-Blizzard thing. They're a little bit, it's just one of those things where, say like Sony, they do a lot of small buys, but it makes them more flexible. And whereas Xbox, they're kind of like maybe stuck until the deal goes through. So maybe they want to, but maybe they're just not in a position. It's really hard to say. Personally, I would like them to get NetherRealm and maybe secure Mortal Kombat. That would be pretty good. I feel like maybe Batman or Harry Potter or the Lego IPs, those may be a little too pricey, maybe, especially if they want them to remain multi-platform. That's just me. They may just end up going to like the bigger guys like EA or Take-Two. I mean, it could be anybody's game. It really depends on how this whole thing's going to play out, like behind closed doors with negotiations and the bids and auctions and however you want to put it. I'm hoping Xbox gets at least somebody. I feel like a big player is gonna get one thing, another player will get another thing. I don't think it's all gonna go to one big company. I think it's gonna be spread out, and I hope Xbox can get at least maybe one thing out of this whole thing. And personally, again, I hope it's NetherRealm. Mortal Kombat is a time-tested IP. Xbox needs fighting games. I mean, it's been a while since it's been what? Like almost 10 years since Killer Instinct came out. Ooh, that's a long time. So if they can have maybe another fighting game IP to their name officially on Game Pass day one, I feel like they should go for NetherRealm. But that's just me. Yeah. Well, I hope for the best.
Mm-hmm. Well, it is funny you mentioned NetherRealm because we got they have some interesting studios here. We've talked about them before on previous shows. There's various divisions of WB Games. We got, as you said, NetherRealm, Rocksteady Studios, Monolith, Avalanche Software. It is an interesting little grouping of studios here. There's definitely interest.
Yeah, I mean, they could just get the studio for the sheer talent and have them work on one of their own dormant IPs. I mean, I could see the potential in that. Like Rocksteady, they make great Batman games, but they could easily just pull them to work on something else. I mean, if it's a good studio, it's a good studio. They don't have to be confined to the licensed IP per se. They can just get them purely for the talent. So maybe they can do something like that, or whoever ends up buying them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair comment. Shockley, buddy, I mean, obviously we've talked about this before in other shows because the WB rumors, they keep churning for some reason, but there seems to be more smoke here. I don't know, what do you think? Do you think Xbox gets involved here, Microsoft? I mean, obviously, we just talked about Activision. The shareholders just approved, but they're still waiting for regulars to come in. Do you think they'd still hold some talks here about maybe getting some studios or IP, and at least talking, anyways? What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, definitely. Like, especially if I could see them maybe like letting it pass if it was like maybe just like a bigger like publisher, like a Square or something like that, like how Square's gotten some of the Marvel properties, or at least like doing licensing deals. Um, but if like Sony were to like try to like scoop up, I could see them to like trying to give a higher bid at least. Because even if they took some of the because what was it? Is it just the IP or is it both IP and the um in the studios, or is it just that they were trying to shop around
I believe it's both
like the studio?
IP
Okay,
and studios.
yeah, I mean, because even with that, it's not enough to like for them to be like, oh, okay, you have Activision and that, okay, the Activision deal is dead because now you're trying to do that or whatever. Like, there's still that's barely enough of a like blip, like as on top of the Activision deal. So it's really not much. Plus, then they could also like show and argue that like obviously Sony doesn't own Marvel, but like they pretty much have all that on a lockdown for the Marvel property. So if they had like WB and some of the DC properties more locked down on, say, like Xbox, like you have kind of like a balance or more of a balance than what there is right now with all the Marvel property basically, except for like the third party license stuff. PlayStation gets exclusive for, Xbox doesn't get any of that. So I definitely don't think they would like sit out on it, but I mean, I guess we'll see. But yeah, if Sony got in there, I would definitely couldn't see them like, hey, we can't sit by and let them like take the top Marvel and DC properties away. That would not be good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, Sony has stated that they are interested in still making some acquisitions, so I would not be surprised about them getting involved. I'll be curious to see where all these studios end up going. Obviously, there is interest in selling these studios, whether it be piecemeal or as a whole. I don't think it would be as a whole. Probably piecemeal. But again, they have some really nice studios here. Monolith, I've always had an affinity for. NetherRealm, obviously, is probably the crown jewel here with Mortal Kombat. And of course, you want that Mortal Kombat IP too. I mean, I think if Xbox were to get involved here, Microsoft, they would really want to go for that fighting game studio. I mean, I would just think that would be an obvious thing. I mean, there's not too many fighting game studios out there, so I mean, it would make sense instead of just building up your own. I mean, that takes a lot of time too. And if you're interested in getting Killer Instinct, I don't know. I mean, there's not too many other studios that could do a Killer Instinct, Mortal Kombat, or a lot of people's dreams, KI versus Mortal Kombat. I mean, man, that would be awesome in my eyes. Centurion Pal, I mean, just out of curiosity, I mean, obviously we're talking about WB Games here and whatnot. Like, what do you think the likelihood of some of these studios getting sold off is? And, do you think Microsoft would be involved here?
There is some good likelihood. I mean, let's face it, we've heard so many stories of studios being up for sale over at WB Games. Um, at least in its current condition, WB, because of them being who also own them, put them under a lot of strain. They owed a lot of money, so there definitely is a good potential to sell these studios off to recover some of that. I mean, they have a lot of IP there. There's a lot of money involved with these IPs. But that's where I'm gonna just basically speak, not based on, how could I say, like fanfare or anything. I'm just gonna speak just genuinely on what I don't want to see. I do like, let's face it, if NetherRealm Studios got underneath the Xbox umbrella, it would be pretty awesome. I mean, yeah, it would be Killer Instinct. You'd be able to have characters from franchises all over, Gears of War, Halo, different franchises from their first party studios, where some of these characters would show up as probably DLC characters for these fighting games. It'd be really awesome. I mean, the sky's the limit. The imagination can run wild, especially if NetherRealm Studios is under that banner. But for me, I don't want to see PlayStation continuing to not to corner what I refer to as the entertainment side of gaming. Um, that's what PlayStation loves. That's what they consume. That's their end goal, in my opinion, is they love games that are like cinematic experiences, or that can be connected to cinematic experiences, or or they have a very huge pop culture influence, especially with the entertainment industry. I want to see Microsoft have that little bit of niche too. Xbox definitely is the home for flexible gaming. There is something for everyone here. There is something for everybody's budget. Xbox has knocked it out of the park on creating a very inclusive ecosystem on the Xbox ecosystem. But definitely I want to see Microsoft also start kind of also wanting to capture a little bit of that niche inner. We're seeing that right now. Like, Xbox put Halo on Paramount Plus, and we're seeing at least a lot of success from people that are new to the Halo franchise that are enjoying what they're seeing. And that's where I'm hoping Xbox would be able to do that with some of these WB franchises, especially ones like the DC franchises that could come with some of these studios. Somebody did mention Harry Potter, but is Harry Potter a franchise that Xbox wants to take on? Let's be absolutely blunt and to the point. There's a lot of controversy behind the Harry Potter franchise right now. If you really look at Hogwarts Legacy, there's a lot of controversy behind Hogwarts Legacy. J.R. Rowling, the creator of Harry Potter, has not done a very good job of basically fanning down this controversy. She's actually infuriated a lot of it. So I really don't know if Microsoft would be interested in something like Harry Potter because of the controversy that's associated with that franchise. But definitely, I want them to capture at least the DC side of it because of what PlayStation has done with Marvel. And I would really like to see Microsoft be able to have some of these iconic comic book characters on the DC side. So that way you could say that you would have the home of DC on Xbox, the home of Marvel on PlayStation for the most part. I don't want to see PlayStation consume everything. Does it make sense?
Well, yeah, I mean, that would be interesting having, again, NetherRealm, for example, doing. Can you imagine that, having a NetherRealm made Batman title exclusive to a platform? That would be pretty big. Not gonna lie. Batman being like one of the most recognizable comic book characters out there. So that would be pretty cool. Oh no, sorry, not Rocksteady. or Monolith, very very talented group there as well. Obviously they're known for the Fear titles, the Middle Earth games as well. Very very fun games. Actually, speaking of which, I really want a new Fear game. Fear kicks ass, by the way. So just saying. But honestly, like, I don't know, there's a lot of good stuff here. Avalanche Software, what did they do? Oh yeah, they're doing Hogwarts Legacy. No, they got some really good studios here. I would love to see some of these attached. Like even some of these ones, like what is it? Traveler's Tale, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, they've been doing the Lego games, but Xbox could use some more family friendly studios under their belt, and I would love to see a Banjo game. I'm just saying, if anybody's gonna do it, get them to do it. That'd be cool. I'd be into that. Hey, at this point, I'll take any studio. I don't know, Crusader. I mean, you gotta have some thoughts on this because WB Games. I mean, there's been a lot of chatter about them, as we've been saying for a while now. Sony seems to be interested. EA. I mean, EA is not afraid to spend a lot of money. They just bought Codemasters a year ago as well, so they got some deep pockets. And Tencent's also there. I wouldn't be surprised if even Embracer is talking about getting involved here. What are your thoughts?
So, you took one of the words out of my mouth with Embracer. I absolutely think that they are looking at this. I think that they are one of the more likely candidates, to be honest, if they were to be sold as an entire set. If they're not, then literally every publisher consider them in the game if they're being sold as piecemealed. Which I am on the side of they will be sold as piecemeal. I have said that since the Discovery Warner Brothers merger was announced.
All right.
I knew that Discovery was not going to want to have their video games in-house for the same reason that Disney didn't want to have them in-house anymore. They don't know how to run video games, right? They don't know how to manage it, and video games are exceptionally risky to develop. It's a lot of money and a significant time investment. Movies are also a lot of money, but they have very fast returns in comparison, right? Like filming, editing, everything is like 2.5 years for like the same budget as a video game with significantly less risk, usually significantly higher returns. So,
well, they're cutting a lot of fat right now. I mean, even there's been some shows canceled already that weren't getting a lot of views. So I'm not surprised.
I did not expect Discovery to hold on to their games. I faltered on that literally 2 weeks ago when they said that they wanted to expand the number of games that they have in development. And I still believe that's the case. I just believe when I first read it, I assumed that they were going to be expanding their own in-house studios. I do want to clarify something that General MLD had said. They are, from what I've heard, they are looking to license the IPs non-exclusively, and that does not mean Xbox versus PlayStation exclusively. Think more about how Disney exclusively licensed Star Wars to EA, and only EA could develop Star Wars. From what I understand, they don't want to do that.
Okay.
They want to do just what Disney is doing right now in the modern era, where basically anyone who wants to license the IPs can license the IPs, and no one gets the exclusive license to any one character. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Because if you look at what Disney's doing right now, I think it's either 15 or 16 projects that Disney has in development between Marvel, Star Wars / Lucasfilm, and like regular Disney itself. It's kind of crazy, right? And I think that that's where Discovery wants to get, because licensing your IPs, the only risk is that someone's going to do a bad job and the IP might get damaged a little bit. But when you have so many games coming out and the games are so separate from the actual like what the IPs are, right? Like it's gonna be hard for a Batman game to ruin the Batman IP, right? Even if you had like 3 bad Batman games, it's not suddenly going to make like Batman comics less likable, the Batman movies less likable. So I do believe that that's the road they're gonna take. Now the question comes to is Microsoft interested? I believe everyone got the right on the nose that the one studio they'd be interested in is NetherRealm, because NetherRealm's kind of associated with its at least its most core IP, because Mortal Kombat would likely be sold. While they would probably retain movie rights to it because those can be split up. The game rights would likely just straight up be sold to Mortal Kombat because they're not useful more than one at a time, realistically. So you get the most value out of NetherRealm, and then you could license the Injustice franchise, right? Because again, that's not a license that like you're going to be competing to do better than someone else.
Right.
A Traveler's Tale, they're probably going to have a hard time selling Traveler's Tale because, you know, not every studio really wants, not every publisher really wants to buy studios that are currently hyper reliant on licenses that don't really have their own IP, because IP is like half the game. You know, having good IP is like half of it, and so Traveler's Tale has nested licensing, right? Because you're not just licensing Lego, you're licensing whatever Lego is licensing, right? Because like Lego Star Wars, you're licensing both from Lego and Disney for that. So that's where like Traveler's Tale, I think it would solve a lot of problems for Xbox, but it would also be a massive headache, right? Because look how long the Lego, I think Lego Lord of the Rings, you still can't buy it digitally because the licensing is all kinds of screwed up. So
wait a minute, I just recently bought it digitally.
Did they finally fix it? Oh my god.
Well, maybe
it's
I don't know. This was months ago, but
they might have fixed it. They might have fixed. They actually
Lord
might
of the
have
Rings.
fixed
No,
it
you're
when-
right. The Hobbit.
Yeah, there's one of them that's screwed up.
Yeah, I think it was The Hobbit. Now that I think about it.
I know. I've been playing The Hobbit. I don't remember playing Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, one of the, and it may have come back. I know at one point the licensing got fixed for PC. Don't know if it ever got fixed on Xbox because technically the game was licensed for the 360 store, and if you want to release it on the Series X, you actually have to relicense stuff to go on that store because it's silly. Licensing is dumb and bad. So there's a big reason that the whole Sea of Thieves Pirates crossover, Disney Pirates, was a huge deal last year because Microsoft doesn't typically like to license things that much. And I mean, you couldn't have picked a more perfect crossover to do. So maybe they are kind of breaking that concept of licensing a little bit. And I think that if you see anything from this, it's Microsoft licensing an IP or two for studios that want it, right? Because we know that like Machine Games wanted to do an Indiana Jones game, so Bethesda negotiated it. So you know, maybe some of the studios at Bethesda or Activision in the future, or in the Xbox Game Studios right now, want to license some kind of IP to do something with it, and maybe we see something, right? I think that's the most likely because that's they can literally just go out and do that. That's not going to impact their the Activision-Blizzard review at all. I actually don't think that buying a one-off studio would really impact it either because especially for like the lower amount you're likely going to spend, NetherRealm's not going to cost more than $1 billion. You know, it's probably not going to cost more than 500 million.
I was about to say I would ballpark like what Insomniac cost, maybe like 500.
Well, so Insomniac is really interesting because Insomniac was bought at the tail end of when it was kind of a the buyer's market in gaming, right? The buyers kind of dictated the prices, but gaming kind of exploded during COVID, massively in both user interest and investor interest, which is kind of making it more of a seller's market. So the sellers are, they're going to be able to dictate the prices, and that's why we've seen like Bungie go for $3 billion, right? The prices are going to be higher now because Insomniac was like what 190 million or something, like something. You look at Insomniac and it's ridiculously low. You're like, what?
Well, yeah, they were
so-
around 4 or 5, yeah, something like that. It was like people thought it was expensive at the time, but I'm like, well, no, guys,
It's not anymore. Yeah.
right. I mean,
Given that they have like no IP to speak of except for Sunset Overdrive.
Yeah, it
That's
was
also kind of why.
because Ratchet was owned by Ratchet and
Sony.
Resistance are both owned by
Sony.
Sony already. Because
Yeah.
Sony always
Only
makes sure
thing
they
they
own
had
the
was
IP.
Sunset.
And some
That's why it
VR
was a big
stuff.
deal that they left.
and
Sony
Song
to
of the
do it.
Deep. Don't forget Song of the Deep now.
And they,
Oh,
they
yeah,
had
yeah.
that really cool VR first person shooter game.
Mhm.
I don't remember what that was on. Oculus maybe.
Mhm.
Uh,
Oh yeah, I know which one you're talking about. Yeah.
they're actually a fantastic VR studio. I cannot believe Sony has not had at least a small team at Insomniac do a VR title.
Well, I mean,
Like even for PSVR 1, they
mhm.
didn't do a major title to my knowledge.
Well, we might see something soon from them. You never
Or,
know.
yeah,
I mean, aren't they holding back an announcement right now don't they have a show like coming up soon, or there's like a
There's been rumors for the PSVR that there's going to
Mhm.
be a PSVR show for the last like 4 months.
yeah.
They keep saying, yeah, it's going to happen next month. It's going to happen next month. There was rumors that the PSVR was pushed into next year though because they want to make sure they have enough stock to start. So who knows when we see that? And you're right, we could see it there. But when did the PSVR 1 come out?
Oof. Was it 17?
Right, that's a while ago, right?
Was
And
it
we
s- I
didn't
can't
see
remember.
one for it then.
Mhm. Yeah. Well,
But yeah, no. Back to WB. I NetherRealm would be my guess, and potentially if they are able to buy technology in this, they would try and buy the patent for the Nemesis system.
oh yeah. It is
For
pretty
mon-
cool, isn't it?
And I cannot believe that you can patent something like that.
Right.
That's very frustrating. I like the EA and Microsoft approach to the patents, where you can basically, as long as you recognize that you're using the patent, anyone's basically allowed to do it for very cheap.
Right.
But you have to like put a disclaimer saying it somewhere in your acknowledgments.
Like honestly, if I was Microsoft, I would go for certainly NetherRealm, but just because I have an affinity for Fear, I would love to see them pick up like both Fear
Monolith.
and Monolith.
Because Fear is just a gaming title, right? It's not.
I know.
It's not like a movie thing. It's an original IP, right? So like they that would probably go with the studio.
Yeah, I'm just saying they need some spooky games and right. So and yeah, it's pretty well known. So I don't know. That's just me. I mean, I have an affinity for Fear, like I said before. I really like the franchise, so I mean that's my own personal feelings. But I mean, what would make sense is NetherRealm off the top of my head, obviously. But I think everybody in the group would be like, yes, all the nodding for sure. But I mean, we could go like, we can go back and forth about some of the other studios. Either way, I mean, it's interesting, like just seeing like all the blitz for WB Game Studios and whatnot. Just hearing these talks. I mean, the way that Warner Brothers Discovery is going right now. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we heard about some studios getting snatched up in like the next month. Okay, maybe I'm being hyperbolic, but you know what I mean. But I don't know, guys. You guys have anything else to add to this? Yes, no? All right. I think we've said all that we needed to on that topic, and I think that about wraps things up for tonight. And I gotta say, fellas, lots of good commentary all around from the TXR crew. We went over Xbox and Bethesda announcing their game showcase, Microsoft's purchase of Activision making some progress, and some interesting WB game talk, to say the least. Now, to everyone that tuned in tonight, thank you. Thank you guys, as always, bringing some fun talk in the chat. Always appreciated. Love seeing you here. If you enjoyed our chat tonight, then consider leaving a like, subbing to the channel, and sharing this out across various forms of social media. Again, guys, always a pleasure having you here. And without delay, let's get to some of these outros. Panel, let's see who to start with. All right, General MLD pal, great show tonight. I thought you had some really fine points. Where can everybody find you at?
Thank you. You'll find me on Twitter at MLD Ghost, gamer tag Ghost MLD. You can see what I'm playing over there. Always up for something, and yeah, let's looking forward to this now. And it's always the weeks that lead up to the next E3 season. The rumor mill starts to kick in, news starts flying. I am looking forward to all of it.
Totally. And I'm sure a lot of people here agree with you. Moving down the list, Crusader, buddy. Really well thought out points tonight. Love the chat. Where can everybody find you?
I love being on tonight. Love being on every time. It's so good talking with everyone. You can find me on Twitter at Crusader3456. And I have links to all of my gaming accounts there. My Xbox gamer tag is the same. And my Reddit username is the same, where you can find me over on r/gaming leaks and rumors, always having good chats with people about the latest and greatest leaks and rumors.
All right, certainly check him out there. Moving over to Eric Shockley, buddy. I thought you made some wonderful points as well. Again, always great having you here, talking games and whatnot. Where can everybody follow you?
Yeah, as always, you can find me at ShockNero on Twitter, Easy Shock on Xbox Live. But yeah, good show tonight. Thanks for stopping by, and have a good weekend.
Okay, and moving down here, Centurion, buddy. I thought you did really good tonight. Then again, you always do. You always put on a pretty good show. Always well spoken with some really well thought out points. Where can these fine people follow you at?
Oh, thank you, Invader, and thank you, gentlemen, for an awesome Sunday night and a great conversation. Thank you to everybody out in the chat that listened to us. Please like and subscribe. Invader's an awesome guy, works hard, man. I mean, he puts a lot of work into the show, so definitely want to support him. For those interested in finding me, I am Centurion1307, and I can be found at that name on YouTube, Xbox Live, and of course, Twitter. You can find me here every Sunday night on the TXR Podcast with these amazing gentlemen. And starting this Wednesday, I will be joining Wilmy Hood and his amazing cast over on Gaming Beyond the Box. He has welcomed me with open arms over there, and I look forward to doing the first show this Wednesday. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait to see you on there. Again, that's a great group right there. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Wilmy and HR Bomber and everyone over there. They're all pretty swell. Catch you on there. Wednesdays, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir. Wednesdays at 8:00 Eastern. I actually went and made special arrangements with my job. I have worked at my job for 15 years. And I pretty much went to the owner and asked for a favor if I could leave work early every Wednesday to basically make it to the show on time, because I really wanted to be there. I love Wilmy Hood. He was like one of the first people I got introduced to when I was doing podcasting, and he has been an awesome friend and an awesome source of conversation.
Oh yeah, and overall just a very friendly fellow overall, right?
Oh, shining member of the community. I mean, if you follow him on Twitter, you would definitely be like, I will definitely say, don't let your kids follow Wilmy Hood on Twitter. if they're not over the age of like high school. But definitely he's an awesome guy, great sense of humor, very knowledgeable, and definitely passionate about just being just normal, being a normal human being that's compassionate about other people.
Plus, I really like his memes too.
I love his meme. I love his memes. His meme, dude. You could be having the crappiest day, and you could just tune into Wilmy Hood's Twitter feed and read some of his memes, and you will get a chuckle guaranteed.
Yeah, some things I give an extra glance. I'm like, that's not right, but I'm still chuckling.
Oh, dude, there's been some I've screen captured them and sent them to my wife.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, everyone knows what we're talking about. But anyways, guys, to round out the group, of course, you can find me on social media, Twitter at Invader_1986, and I got a YouTube channel for reviews and whatnot at Invader Gaming. Certainly check out my videos there. Fun time tonight, and yeah, we're looking forward to talking to you all next time. Later, everyone. It's been great.